Yep, we're going to be knitting dishcloth, or if you want, washcloth. And for more information and a list of supplies, visit the website. And as always, please watch the video completely before you start the project. Now, before I show you how to do the cast on, let me show you this. I'm going to put stitch markers on the first and last peg, as well as every other peg. Alright, now get your yarn, and hopefully it is a cotton or cotton blend. And I'm going to do a simple knot. You can do a slip knot if you're more comfortable with that. Take your working yarn and put it between the first and last peg. And the direction that you go in for this one is not going to matter. I'm going to go to the right, and we're going to wrap 23 pegs. So just keep going all the way until you get to peg 23. For me, it has a little green rubber band, and that tells me it's the last peg I'm going to wrap. And now we're turning direction because we're knitting flat, means we're going back and forth instead of in the round. And I'm going to loosely place my yarn over the existing loop and knit off, and it creates this funky little loose loop. Don't worry about it. Bring your yarn behind peg 23 and pull on it, and that will straighten out that really loose loop. And then, as I said, we're going in the opposite direction, so take the working yarn and place it over that loop and knit off. We will not be slipping or skipping any of our pegs, so we're going to knit all of them. Now I have my yarn nice and loose. Maybe it doesn't seem that way, but it is. It's nice and loose. You don't want to tighten the yarn here a lot, because it's going to make your next row really difficult. Just for information purposes, this is called a flat knit stitch, because basically you're laying your yarn flat over your pegs. Alright, and keep going all the way until you get back to that first peg, which is peg number 1, and once you knit off, you're done with the cast on. We're moving on to row 1, and for row 1, you're just going to knit the whole row. So remember, we're knitting flat. I'm going to push these first few down a little bit. Don't push them all the way down. It just makes things more difficult. And remember, we're knitting flat, so we're going to turn around and knit off. And this time we're doing the U-wrap version of the knit stitch. And so what I'm doing, if you notice, is I am half wrapping the peg. I hold with my 2 fingers, and then I knit off the peg, and I do each peg one at a time. We're not doing E-wraps, so it's preferable not to do it. Makes your fabric very loose. So this is a better version of the knit stitch. It happens to be my favorite. And again, all you're doing is half wrapping the peg and then knit off. Keep going all the way to the very last peg, and that would be 23 in total. So once you knit that peg 23, you're done with row 1. For row 2, we're going to do a purl 1, knit 1. So you're going to take that working yarn and put it under the existing loop. Take your hook, and you're going to then scoop up that working yarn to create a new loop. Take the old loop off the peg, and then put this new loop on and tighten. Your next peg then needs a knit stitch. This is the U-wrap version of the knit stitch, and you knit off. Now you go to the next one, and again you're going to purl. So scoop up the existing loop, create a new one, take the old one off, and put the new one. Now as you can see, I'm doing purl stitches wherever I have a little white rubber band. So tighten. Now remember that I told you there's also the flat version of the knit stitch. It is a tighter stitch, and if you want your fabric to look a little tighter, you can do that knit stitch. But your next one has to be a purl, because it's every other one. So wherever I have a rubber band, I'm going to do a purl. Where I don't, I have a knit stitch. And you could do a flat version of the knit stitch or the U-wrap version of the knit stitch, as long as you do a knit stitch wherever there is no rubber band. So it's every other one. If you don't use stitch markers, don't worry. Just keep up with the purl one, knit one, purl one, knit one. And as long as you're doing that until you get back to that very first peg that you're going to purl, you're all done. And that's row 2. For row 3, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to knit one, purl one. So this first peg, we're going to knit. So remember that we're doing flat, so we're going to turn around, and here we're going to knit, and here we're going to knit, and the ones that don't have markers, I'm going to purl. So basically, I'm stacking opposites. Where I had purled before, now I'm going to knit. So here's a rubber band right here. I'm going to knit. The next stitch, I'm going to purl. Now remember, I'm using stitch markers because, hey, I got ADD and this just works better for me. If you don't need the stitch markers, don't worry about it. Just remember that for this row, for row 3, you're going to knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, which is the opposite of what you did in row 2. Once you knit off peg 23, you are done with row 3, and what we're going to do from this point on is just repeat rows 2 and 3 19 more times. When you've done that, you will have a total of 39 rows. Now in my case, I know that when I'm going from right to left, I'm going to do a purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, right? All the way around until I get back to peg 1 here. This direction, I'm going to do the opposite, right? I'm going to then knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, because I'm doing the opposite. And just repeat that until I have 39 rows. Once I'm done knitting those 39 rows, I will be ready for the basic bind off. To do this, you're going to take your working yarn and we're going to knit off pegs 23 and 22, both of them. You're going to knit off, take that loop off of 22, bring it over to peg 23, tighten your loop, knit off, and bring the loop over from 23 over to 22. So this time and from now on, you're only going to knit the peg that's in front. So that is peg 20. You take it, you move the loop over to 21, knit off, and bring the loop back over to 20. Alright, so to make the explanation a little easier, we're going to call them pegs 1 and 2. So you're going to knit off peg 1 and take the loop over to peg 2, put it on top right there, tighten it, knit off peg 2, and bring the loop back over from 2 over to 1. So this technique is done over 2 pegs, and that's why now we're calling these 2 pegs pegs 1 and 2. So you knit off peg 1, bring that loop over and put it on 2, and then you're going to knit off peg 2, and you're going to take the loop off and bring it over to peg 1. And you see that from this point on, we're only knitting one of the 2 pegs. So I'm going to knit peg 1, right? I knit off, and then I take that loop and I bring it over to peg 2. And I'm repeating this a lot because it can be confusing for some people, so I want to make sure you're understanding what I'm doing, right? So I knit off peg 2, and then I'm taking the loop and I move it over to peg 1, and I tighten. Tightening this is very important because you don't want it to look really sloppy. In fact, you can pull on this one a little extra to kind of tighten the last loop. Don't overdo it because they're going to look funky, and you want to keep your tension as consistent as possible because you want your loops to look nice. You want your stitches to look nice. So when you pull, make sure that you don't overdo it, and that you're keeping it as constant as possible so that all your stitches can look alike. See how I pull this just a little extra to kind of tighten. And then just keep doing this. You're just going to continue to work over 2 pegs, and if necessary, go slow on this one. You don't want to get stuck or mess anything up. Alright, so you have the last 3 here, and you knit off, take that from 1, put it over to 2, tighten, knit off 2, and bring it over, and now we only have 2 pegs left, but you're still going to do the same thing. You're going to knit off peg 2 and bring it over to 1, and you're going to then knit off that peg, and you're going to knit it 1 last time. So you knit off, and then you can get your scissors and you can cut the working yarn. Alright, and then just pull the string, and that leaves you with a knot. Now you are done, and you need to stretch these stitches, or in other words, stretch your fabric, because it's going to look funny if you don't stretch it. In order for you to see the seed stitch, you need to stretch. So stretch them, and there's your bind off. Isn't it pretty? Now, if you want both sides to look alike, you're going to have to tighten this end over here. You can leave it like it is, but it looks really sloppy and I don't like it. So you're going to go to the end where you don't have that cast off. You see, this is one end. The other one has the string. And then just start tightening those really loose loops. Just do the front ones. See, right here. You can see it right there. It's the loose, it's that cast on loop. And all you want to do is pull on it, and when you pull on one, it tightens the one before it. This is only going to work if you do the E-wrap, the cast on where you wrapped all your pegs. If you use a different cast on, this is not going to work. And it's a little extra, but it's nice because both of your ends are going to look the same. This is why you do this. If necessary, there's another video just for this technique, and you could take a look at it. And I would tell you, if necessary, practice this technique on a smaller version, make a smaller one of these and practice. This is so well worth you understanding how to do it. It totally neatens up your project, and it makes it look so much nicer, especially when you're using large gauge looms. Just keep going. You pull on it, and you see it does work easily as long as you go slow. Don't rush this. Take it a little bit at a time. And I'll tell you that where people usually get stuck on this technique is not here midway. It's usually at the end because they get a little zealous and they just want to pull, and there's a little knot at the end that will prevent you from pulling what's left, and this is where folks get confused. And so I'm going to slowly take you through pulling the very last one, right? And remember that you have to start on the correct edge. So this is the edge that has the knot that you did on the anchor peg. You see? Now right there you'll see that there's a knot that's not going to let you pull, so you can see it's at the very, very end. Just pull that knot apart enough. You see how it's pulling on the string? That knot is not going to let you finish. So that's the one that you have to pull loose, and then you'll see what do you have to pull in order to get this really long string. See? That's key to this technique, is just make sure you get rid of that knot, and then you can pull the rest of your string. There we go. If necessary, rewind and look at this section right here, because that's going to make this technique real easy for you. Then the very last one bit of it, just make a knot with it before you completely tighten it, and there you have it. Boom, done. See? And your project will look really good. Now this little one here looks a little smaller than because I'm using a different type of cotton blended fabric, but it feels amazing. And as you can see, my two ends look really good, and I like these scrubby edges, and the texture is amazing. This is milk yarn, and I'm doing a baby washcloth, so that's why this one is a little smaller. If you use 100% cotton, yours will be a little bigger. And of course, you need to weave in your ends, and I'm using a needle to weave in my ends. You can use a crochet hook if you like. Either one works well. Just remember to get it nice and hidden, and then just clean up your edges. So I am threading a needle and then just basically feeding the leftover working yarn through these little loops on the edges. I will confess that I rushed this process a little bit in weaving in my ends. I do, after going in one direction, weaving in the leftover working yarn, I do turn the item around and weave a little bit in the opposite direction. It secures the leftover working yarn so that when you wash the item, it doesn't fall apart. And of course, remember to cut off any excess yarn. Well, I hope you guys really like this item. The stitch is so beautiful. The seed stitch is one of my favorite because it looks amazing on both the front of your item as well as the opposite side. There you go. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. If you share this video, it helps me, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe.